So then, ladies and gentlemen, in this video I'll be showing you guys how to create this really cool Spider-Man poster, movie poster, for you guys to hopefully use either in your own designs or to copy the one that I'm going to be showing you guys today and maybe taking your own twist on it. Haven't recorded a video on this channel in a while, so we're hoping to change that. Hopefully new tutorials will be coming out every week or so. Could be 2, could be 3, but I will always tease the poster that I'm doing on my TikTok beforehand, so you guys will be able to see. So without further ado, let's jump straight into this one. So we're starting off here by adding our rulers on the middle, so you get that central sort of cross point. That is basically the center of your image, so everything stays directly straight. And then we're going over to our assets here and we're dragging in the Spider-Man photo. The key to this design is really high quality imagery. If you go on Google and you search for your character that you're wanting to use and search high resolution, you should be able to get some stuff. So our first goal there was to basically duplicate that Spider-Man image. Then we're adding a black and white, which we are not touching. And then we are going to add an exposure layer after that, and just copy if you're using this Spider-Man image, just copy the numbers that I'm putting in here. If you're using your own image, the exposure will vary quite a lot. The goal that I was going for here is obviously the black Venomized suit from Spider-Man 2 is what I went for in this design, which is obviously quite nice because it's a very dark suit. It's black and white, so it's very easy to do. It does come more complex if it's got more colors in it. However, if you guys don't have a black and white suit or you want to do something else with it, completely feel free. This is completely open. And then I'm selecting this orange color here, which will be good for sort of getting the fiery look onto the suit quite easily. So we put that there on color burn, and then we're going over to our brush tool. We created a clipping mask on that, and we're going over to our brush tool, making the opacity low, decreasing the sort of weight of the brush, and we're just tapping in certain parts of the image. We're not going blown out all over, we're just highlighting some sections, going sort of more towards where the fire is going to be. And obviously you won't see the top and bottom corners of this design because we're going to be covering them up. So this next layer is the Venomized sort of effect overlay that I found, and we're putting that on lighten. Putting that on lighten, there we go. And we're decreasing the opacity down so it's barely noticeable, you know. This doesn't have a huge sort of impact in the design, but it does give the effect of the suit being more venomized, which is the result of what I'm going for. Plus also the smoke and the fire that's going to be in there. This also does help in that as well. Then we're going back into our assets and we're going over to we're getting the like clipped paper, I guess you can call it, the rip paper, and we just want to position that as close as we can to the top and bottom corners. Now this is completely up to you guys. This will obviously vary on whichever image you guys are using of whichever character, and it's a lot of playing around. It's a lot of wherever the sort of tops of these designs are going to be are the sections where this image that we've just edited is going to peer through. So I was referring to my original design quite a lot during this, just to get it about right. I sort of wanted it just past the neck on the head, so it takes a lot of playing around, as you can see here where it sort of cuts in just past the neck. We were a bit too high, so we shift that down a bit, and then we make it a little bit bigger. But feel free to do this however you want. You guys don't have to follow me exactly. It's all about whatever you guys feel. So I'd say that we're pretty close. We're pretty close now. Just a little bit more tweaking, messing around with it, and then we should be near enough there. And then after we've done this part of the design is where things start to get a tiny little bit more complex. So you want to duplicate your original image again 2 more times and put them to the top of your layers. You then want to create a clipping mask directly over sort of both of those cutouts that we've used. So you should end up with this. If you guys are struggling, feel free to leave a comment and I will assist you in the best ways that I can. Now what we are wanting to do, once you're to this position here, is we're still editing around. You know, I was just trying to get the perfect placement. I was being very picky during this part of the design. You don't have to be as picky as me, but now we want that rip. And now with the rip, it can be tricky to sort of align with exactly how we want it. So there's an easier way of doing this that I found out, is if you get your original sort of layers that we put in, which you can see here in the white of the original rip paper, and then you can position your rip over the top of the rip on the paper the best you can. I know that sounds a little bit complicated, but you should hopefully be able to see the example here. I'm basically lining that up with the original image that I placed, because if you do it this way, then it will be exactly where you want it to be. As you can clearly see, when I revert all the images back and re-add that clipping mask in, you'll be able to see that the rip lines up perfectly along that line. That's what you want. You know, if you're going for this Spider-Man, then you just need to follow the rip. Once you've done it once, you just mimic that to the other side. It will line up because we use the same picture just flipped. So it is the easiest way of doing it. This could vary depending on the type of character you're using. As long as it's a high-res photo, you shouldn't have too much of an issue. But as you can see now, we've got those rips in. It's not perfect, and we will do some rejigging at the end, but for now it will do to get us to the next step of this design. So I'm just playing around here, getting the size correct and making sure that it works and it doesn't look out of place, because the worst thing that you can do with this design to make it look strange would be obviously not position these rips correctly. If they're slightly off, it could lead to the design looking completely out of place, and a lot of your other assets won't line up if you don't get these rips correct. So we're now going down to our lower layer and we're creating a clipping mask on that second copied Spider-Man, which will be the one that we edited right at the start. And then we're inversing the layer, selecting our black brush, and you should just be able to fade out the top and a little bit under the arm, which you can see me doing here. And that should naturally probably be a little bit darker due to the obviously exposure layer and other layers. And then we're dragging in our burning buildings here. You guys can use whatever background you want. You know, I went for this because it works with the suit, but you guys can feel free to do whatever you would like. And then we're just dragging that behind and making that big, and it should fit quite nicely in that space. So you've got the buildings in the background. Obviously, if you were doing a superhero, you could have a villain in the background. You could do whatever you feel like. And now we're dragging in all of these flame layers and spark layers, just basically all the fire layers. We're just dragging all those in. These are very, very, very simple to do. All you're basically doing is positioning where you want them and making sure that they are all on screen on the blend mode, which you will see me doing here, as I'm just dragging them all down underneath that original image so they appear in front of the buildings. So they want to be in front of your buildings layer. And then we're just making them all invisible so we can focus on one at a time. You guys don't have to. It just makes things a little bit easier for me to work. So you're just positioning them, putting them all on screen, getting them to where you want them, positioning them however you feel like it. They don't have to be in a specific order. You guys can have more of one version of fire. You could use different assets. But what I'm basically doing here is adding sparks and making sure that it all sort of fits nicely. You can go, honestly, the more over the top you go with these sort of flame and sparks and additional assets, the better it will probably look. We're putting some in front and we're putting some behind. So as you can see here with this, I'm actually putting this in front to give a little bit more dimension, as if it's not just the fire behind, because that can look a bit weird. If you have it like how I have it here, it looks like the suit is within the fire and it looks much cooler. This won't be super visible, so it doesn't matter how much you guys do. Just go until you feel comfortable, basically. I'm just adding in all these fire aspect sort of designs here and overlays, making sure that there's some that are bigger than others, there's some that are repositioned, and making sure that they all suit the design the best they can. So when you've finished putting on all the effects that you guys would like to put on, go back to the assets, and we want 2 more layers. We want both the background, I believe they're the black background layers. One goes at the bottom, as you can see me doing here, and one should fit perfectly within your A4 document. Then what we're going to do is we're going to select all of our layers, convert them to a smart object, and basically that is so we can add a camera raw filter to it, but you guys can also go in and re-edit things if you want to rejig things around. Now we're going to the camera raw filter and just copy all the numbers that I'm going to put in here. If you're using this Spider-Man design, if you're using your own, feel free to just have a play around with all the different layers. Obviously, some of them are quite self-explanatory. Contrast, the higher the contrast, the more the colors pop out, basically. And so all of my designs, I do tend to go with decently high contrast. And then obviously the lower, it goes sort of darkish gray. For temperature, if you're using a character that has a lot more blue in them, for example, if you were doing something with like Mr. Freeze, you would obviously temp it more towards the blue. If you were doing something more with a more flame oriented character, then obviously you go more towards the reds, the yellows. It's just it's basic sort of color knowledge to see what works best with that character. So once you've added in all of these different layers and all of your different textures, and you put all in these numbers here, obviously the clarity is great. It really increases aspects of the design that are really important, like the eyes. You then click OK, and as you can see, that has done massive amounts for our design in terms of making it look more like one cohesive image. And I was really happy with how this one came out. And through that smart object file that we basically made, that layer, we're still able to go in and freely edit the back of the design however we feel like it. So if you don't quite like something, or you feel like something needs to be improved, something needs to be made brighter, like I'm making the fire brighter on mine, trying to increase it, adding more into it, just trying to get it as close as I could to the first design I made, plus also the theme that I was going for, with really, really high sort of contrast and fire in that background to make it look like it's a burning building. If you don't have like the look you want, it's very, very easy with that smart object to go in and re-edit things, and then you just exit out of it, you save what you've done, and then you exit out of it, and those are instantly applied to your design. So we're going back into our layer folder now as we start to play around with what I like to call excessive sort of over-the-top designs, which are your lens flares, your logos, things that really make the poster look better. So I just picked 2 nice lens flares off Google. If you just Google lens flare overlay, you will get dozens of different colors. I added a nice little caption in a basic font. That script at the bottom I use for my poster designs when I'm trying to create something around a movie, and it doesn't have any credits on it. So this logo, by the way, is completely made up. I've just completely made it. It's basically the Spider-Man logo in the background in a blue, a really bold font, and then the Marvel logo. Quite easy to make, but obviously you guys will be able to do whatever you want with any character that you desire. If you've got a Green Goblin, for example, that will be Green Goblin. You can put Spider-Man 2 on it. You can literally endless amounts that you can do to this to make it your own. You can change the colors of your lens flares, but I'm basically just positioning mine in that top corner because I'm hoping that it sort of sparks and it creates a really nice, when you screen it, it keeps the color, but it creates a really nice sort of flow where you can see where the light's coming from, and it just makes the poster stand out a lot more than just having the basic sort of picture that we showed you before the lens flare, where it looks a bit flat, it looks a bit 2D, and there could be a lot more done to it. Now, as you can see here, I'm just going over the top with lens flares. I'm adding one to the bottom of the M. That to me just looks brilliant. It looks like a movie poster, and I'm making the color overlay. If you click solid color on your layers, you'll be able to make it white if you then switch it to color, and then you should have a really cool looking poster design for whichever character that you guys may be using. If you ever want to change an aspect about the poster, it's super easy, as you can see me doing here. I wanted to make things slightly different. I wanted to play around with it, which you can see in this quick time lapse. I'm just adding more, increasing layers, dragging stuff down, moving it around, and eventually I end up with something much more like what I was going for. So if you guys did enjoy that video and enjoy this design, then make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss out on an upload, and feel free to leave a comment down below of any theme or design you would like to see next, and I will try and see what I can do with that. Feel free to leave a comment with how you thought of the video, how the video can be improved. We're always trying to improve. Hopefully the schedule will be better now for this channel, but I appreciate everyone watching the video, and I will see everyone in the next one.